Welcome to Old and Outlandish, This Life's Journey. Well, I'm Tim Norris, and my wife Heidi and I hopefully aren't all that old, and hopefully we're not all that outlandish, but we are venturing along with a friend of ours named Tara that we picked up in Calgary on a 7-week journey to Alaska. We'll sit back and enjoy our trip. One of the first things we saw after we left Hyder was this fox on the road, and it just stood there and let us get a good picture. Then this weird rainbow appeared in the sky. It was really beautiful. We passed by this beautiful lake and had to stop, get out, walk around, and take a few pictures there as well. But after a while, we finally made it to the Yukon. Well, the first town we came to was Watson Lake, and we ate at this little diner that had this weird little army of prairie dogs that had cigarettes, and they had hats and guns, and it was pretty interesting. Next, we stopped at the Signpost Forest. The Signpost Forest is in Watson Lake, and it began in 1942 when a homesick soldier erected a sign for Danville, Illinois. Today, there are over 100,000 signs from all over the world. Centerburg, Ohio, May 1998. That day we drove to Whitehorse, and just about 10 minutes from downtown Whitehorse is Miles Canyon, and it's surrounded by 50 to 60 foot high rock cliffs on either side. And one of the neat things is it is navigatable by boats. So we did see a person driving their boat right up through the canyon, and we hiked around it and did a canyon rim trail of about 3.5 miles. And just had a good time enjoying the views. The next day, Heidi decided she wanted to drive part of the way, and we ran into road construction just shortly after she took over. And I think she was wishing that she hadn't decided she wanted to drive. But very interesting. We had to follow a pilot car for several miles. I'm going to guess at least 15 to 20. And we had to dodge equipment all of the way. Well, welcome to Dawson City. These are the Kissing Buildings. So Dawson City is on permafrost, and if you don't have a good foundation, a lot of the buildings will start to tilt. Well, Dawson City is an old mining town for gold. It's where the Bonanza claim was that everybody wanted to get to in the early 1900s. Lots of old stores, old buildings, some are restored, some are not, but just a beautiful town. A lot of the sidewalks are all made out of wood boards, just because of the mud, and so people would step up onto the wooden sidewalks and walk around town. Well, this is Diamond Tooth Gertie's Gambling Hall and Variety Show. The building didn't look all that big from outside, but inside I couldn't believe how large it was. But they had this theater, and they had a little orchestra or band on the side, guy playing the piano, and then they had people coming out. This was Diamond Tooth Gertie, and this is some of her girls, and they would dance and entertain and take a lot of the miners' money with that gambling, booze, and women. The three things that seem to get the gambler's money everywhere. But we got to enjoy a nice show. We sat down and had a good meal. Just a really interesting place. And I also had a horseshoe balcony. I was kind of surprised to see that. Well, at the same time we were there was the last day of the Dawson City Music Festival. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the Dan Emmett Music and Arts Festival in our town. But we did get to see about a half hour of that before we went home and went to bed. The next day we drove up on top of the lookout called Midnight Dome, and we got a great view of Dawson City and the Yukon River. It's just amazing to me, the landscape, and I can't imagine trying to come up here in the 1900s and go through everything that they did to get to this place. Well, this is the drive down to Bonanza Creek. Bonanza Creek is where all the gold came from. It's where the first piece of gold was found that started the big gold rush, and then that's where dredge number 4 worked. And you can see wherever dredge number 4 quit is where dredge number 4 sits to this day. It's the biggest dredge that I've ever seen. It's over 2/3 of an acre in size. It's 8 stories high, and it operated 24 hours a day for roughly 200 days a year. And they say that this dredge unearthed over 9 tons of gold in its lifetime, which is about $8.6 million in its day. So I don't know what 9 tons of gold would be today, but at several $1,000s an ounce, it would be worth quite a bit. And here is dredge number 4. Well, just down the road from gold dredge number 4 is the Bonanza Public Claim. The Visitor Center will loan you the gold pans so you can go panning for gold yourself. Well, we thought we would give it a try. We panned, and we panned, and we panned. And we decided that this could be kind of a difficult way to try to make a living, because bending over in that freezing cold water trying to pan for gold is a lot harder than what it looks. Well, this is what we found. We believe some pretty rocks. No gold. Well, the next day we took a tour of the town. We saw the Kino, one of the original ships that was on the river, and a couple of these neat old buildings. I love this one with the sod roof. Very interesting building. This building was a Masonic lodge. It looks like it's concrete, but when you take a further examination of it, it's basically just tin that was shaped to make it look like it was rocks, and that it was made of concrete, I guess, not rocks. This is the radio station in town, and then here is a working stern wheeler that you can take rides on. We went into an old bank, and all the beautiful woodwork there was just amazing. This place was hilarious. The Red Feather Saloon. It's where you could not only get your liquor, but you could get your motor vehicle hunting and fishing licenses, all in one place. So it doesn't sound like they're too worried about drunk driving at that time. The man giving the tour was very animated and very excited to show us around his town. This building was the post office, a very interesting building. They talked about it could take up to a year to get letters from the lower 48 up to the Yukon in the early 1900s. I can't imagine waiting a year for your letter. If you're interested in buying a hardware store and moving to the Yukon, this one is for sale. So there's a business you can go ahead and buy and be all ready to for your next venture in life. So the next stop we did was the Palace Grand Theater. This was a real surprise to me. I could not believe how beautiful this was inside. The pictures don't do it justice, but this was a full working theater. They did a lot of vaudeville shows and musicals in this theater. This is where the general session or general people would sit, and then they had box seats all the way around the top. I loved the old rigging in the back to pull the curtains in and out. They had really nice dressing rooms for people. And then this was actually where the stars would sleep. They had apartments in the front. Several years ago, during the restoration of one of the buildings, they found this old preserved toe. And now they have the Sourdough Cocktail Challenge. They say you can drink it fast, you can drink it slow, but your lips must touch the toe.
Tara, you're ready for the sourdough challenge?
No.
Are you sure? You signed up for it?
I did sign up for it, but I'm not sure I want to do it.
I'm ready.
You can drink it slow. So this must touch this one on the top.
Oh my God.
Tim, when are you going to go a real beer?
What's that?
When you
We're
gonna
going to go a real beer.
Yeah, I might do it on this trip. I don't know.
She's going to be about swimming. You got her.
Well, the next day we decided it is time to leave Dawson City and head towards Alaska via the Top of the World Highway. Well, the only way to get to Alaska from here without backtracking the 100 and some miles that we had to go to get here on that bad dirt road is the Top of the World Highway. And to get to the Top of the World Highway, you have to take this ferry. This ferry runs 24 hours a day all through the spring, summer, and fall until the river freezes over. So once the river thaws, until it freezes over, this ferry runs 24 hours a day. Very interesting road. It just goes up, up, and up even more. So sit back and enjoy the views. hope you've enjoyed this episode of Bold and Outlandish, This Life's Journey. Join us next time on our way from the top of the World Highway to Anchorage.